Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast, focused on providing valuable information for anyone looking to undertake a new build or extension project. We'll share our tips, tricks and stories from a building designer's perspective.
And welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast. Once again, we're joined by Frank Geskes.
G'day everyone.
Building designer extraordinaire. I embarrass you every time.
I know, you drive me nuts.
And I'm your host, Amelia. And we've actually got another special guest on this week. Welcome, Tony from Cupolex.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, you've had a big weekend, haven't you, Tony?
Yeah. Apart from working, I've been enjoying the sights and things of Launceston. First time I've been here, and I'll definitely be back.
Excellent. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, Tony, and Cupolex in general.
Okay, so I started with this product probably 2010. I think it was the first slab we put down, mainly because the industry I was in for 19 years before that was moving towards recycled materials and things like that, which is not in the building industry. So I could see the industry that I was in dying, so I thought it was time for a change. I was ready for a change, and I come across a product, recycled plastic void former. Decided to look into that, and at the time there was nothing in Australia available that was sustainable like this product, so that's how it got started.
So explain, for those that don't really know what Cupolex is, what does it actually do?
So Cupolex is a void former for a slab on ground application, so residential slabs, commercial slabs, whatever, factory slabs. So what it's meant to do is reduce concrete, reduce labour, but still keep the strength and stability of a slab. It's been in our industry for a long time. Most people know what a waffle pod is, an EPS void former, but this is a sustainable solution. So basically all it does is, with our codes and that in residential, for example, you need a certain beam depth. So to get that beam depth, it depends on a lot of things, but you put a void former in the slab, and then that reduces your labour, your concrete, your steel, all sorts of things.
So waffle pods, they're made out of polystyrene, is that right? So that's correct. Usually what builders would normally use? Yeah,
well, where I'm from, probably 95% of slabs are polystyrene slabs, waffle pod. Very good system, nothing wrong with the system, but just now they're finding that slab, it's been around that long that houses have been, demolished and rebuilt and things like that, and it's just an absolute nightmare for the environment. So they've recognised that problem, and they're just trying to find alternatives for the future.
Yeah, polystyrene is becoming a bit of a dirty word in the construction industry, especially as it can contaminate stormwater, other people's properties. We've seen some wonderful examples of windy sites where we've seen the polystyrene just fly over the whole subdivision.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the Rio.
Yeah. I've actually got a photo, and it was just a fluke. I was doing a job down near Dapto at south of Sydney, and in the early days we were putting down our domes, and there was a site about 3 blocks up, and the wind come howling down, the fences blew, the pods actually blew over the top of us, and I started taking some photos, and in the bottom of this photo, we didn't even have mesh on our domes, and nothing moved, so that was a fluke, but it was a good photo in the end.
It's just like it's snowing.
That's it. Look, I've seen plenty, the good and the bad of the product. But there's, as Frank said, there's a lot more rejection to it because people are now smarter in, seeing how this should be built, how sustainable houses should be built, and things like that. So, as I said, there's nothing wrong with the product. It's just probably like anything, there will be an end of life one day.
So it's an evolution. Also, our sites are getting smaller, aren't they?
100%.
They're getting really tight. The blocks are getting smaller. The houses are being shoehorned in, and the polystyrene does take a lot more space.
Yes.
Whereas the Cupolex, you can stack them up like a pack of plastic chairs, and easy to manoeuvre, and easy to take away again, easy to put on site. And that's been a comment that we've had from a few concreters, and especially on big multi-residential sites, lots of units. There's lots of people everywhere, formwork everywhere, vehicles, and the Cupolex works great in that sense. And we don't have to hold a bunch of shipping containers storing all the polystyrene waffle pods.
So where we have an advantage and where I get a lot of work back home, say school buildings and things like that. So what happens is there's a specification they can't use polystyrene because they can't afford the bead to blow into playgrounds and things like that. So just little things like that are starting to come into vogue. I've got a couple of jobs I'm working on. You can't have polystyrene on site anywhere in the build. It's not just waffle pods, it's actually anywhere in the build. So the other problem you have, and with our bigger commercial guys at home, what happens there is they actually treat safety as a cost, where a lot of just residential builders don't look at that side of things. But so you've got less side traffic, the stuff won't catch fire, it won't blow away. All that sort of stuff becomes a cost to these people. So it slowly it's changing.
And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the polystyrene waffle pods. As a design, they're very, very good.
So what are some of the other sustainable benefits surrounding Cupolex?
So basically everyone's talking about, going to battery power and things like this. It's a recycled program that's already in place, being used in our domes. So, but predominantly our domes are made from car battery cases, car bumper bars, things like that. It's a premium recycled material. So if we're going down the track of, solar heating, solar energy with, battery storage, there's already an industry in place for that stuff to be recycled. We've been doing it that long that people don't understand that, part of the evolution of life, and the other beauty about, like, say, a product like ours is at the end of life, concrete actually shrinks. So the Cupolex can be separated and both the concrete and the plastic can be recycled at end of life. So there's solutions there already. And, there's other systems on the market now that have come in the last couple of years, and they're basically copy and paste solutions, and, they're there for a reason. And it's good that they are there, because it's not about me selling more Cupolex, it's about, my kids and their future and their kids and all that sort of stuff. Just a little thing, it'll all add up.
So, Frank, how does that tie back into, say, passive house design?
Yeah, well, it's looking at more the embodied energy in the products, and when you're looking at the products that you choose throughout your building. So we're looking at more natural products that can be, more sustainably done, grown, either, used timber products, if it's done well, it's sustainable, certain other building products that we use. But we've got a long way to go in the industry. Also, what I see is when we go to site, the amount of waste that we have on site, because currently it's extraordinary.
Oh, definitely. And the offcuts from stuff is insane, isn't it?
And the amount of skip bins and all the rest of it, and there's got to be better ordering, better recycling, better reuse of materials. And I know here in Launceston there's a group that are dealing with that as well. But the beauty about Cupolex, though, if you've got any left over, stack them up, put them back in the ute, take them back to your workshop. With a lot of the other products, you can't do that because they don't stack up easily, or they take so much space, or they break when you move them or bump into them. That all those things have to be considered, and you can use the Cupolex on the next job as you go. So that's been a big advantage as well.
What I've noticed about Cupolex, just from looking at photos, videos, etc., is the interlocking nature that it has. It's quite unique and it makes it quite efficient, I guess, in terms of the application and the installation of it. Is that fair to say there, Tony?
That's correct. So the reason why it locks, and purely for somebody that's pouring concrete, you try not to have whatever void system move around too much. So the other benefits of it locking means that firstly it makes it safer to walk on, safer to put your mesh on, things like that. So the safety is always a big thing. Secondly, that you don't want your void systems moving too much around, because then that affects your beam strengths and things like that. Like you want your beams to be what their engineers designed and things like that. So you don't, want to, how can I say that? You don't want to cause a problem there that might come back down the track. So when people say lay a waffle pod or a Cupolex or something like that, if the workmanship isn't done properly, it could have massive effects later, and the product will always get blamed. So you try and make it easy to install. With the locking, it won't move around, it won't blow away, or haven't had one yet, blow away or anything like that. So that's the way it's been designed. It's not a hard system to put down, but when people understand that it is basically a raft slab and you're forming the beams above the ground, and these things lock in, and then they start realising how easy it is.
It's quite quick. According to the stats, it's, I think, between 150 to 200 metres squared that two people can install in roughly an hour. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So basically how that works is, if I'm doing it, or a couple of our concrete crews that do hundreds of these each year, they can get it down to that quite easily. Usually I say to concreters, first one or two to get your head around it, and once you work out your processes and procedures on how you would lay a slab, implement them and you watch how quick it goes down.
So how does that compare then with, say, the waffle pod? Because the application is obviously quite different. And so you've got that sort of the added cutting of the product to size for a waffle pod, whereas you don't really have that for the Cupolex dome system?
Well, the actual pods themselves, again, this is something you can't put on a spreadsheet. If you've got somebody that's been doing pods for 20 years, they're going to put that down very quickly. But then if they're working, 15, 20, 30K winds, it's going to go down a lot slower. Wind doesn't make that much difference to us unless it's very, very, like it's blowing gales. So that's where the safety aspect comes in again. So when you're laying something as light as EPS, waffle pod, you've just got to put down enough pods, put a sheet of mesh on, enough pods again, just to hold everything down. So that's when you have sort of cross traffic on what you do on a slab. It could cause issues. But as I said, the guys that have been doing it a long time, do it as quick as anything. But with our stuff, the biggest advantage of our system is that it might take you an hour to put down how many square metres, but you don't have to chair the mesh. That's a big thing. So that's another safety thing. And you're not picking up scrap.
So when you talk about chairing, for those people that don't understand concreting and that sort of thing, they're the things that sort of hold up the mesh on top of the domes, is that?
Yeah, so basically our domes act as a bar chair. So when you're putting mesh on top of your slab, what the mesh is there is for cracking control, right? So if that mesh isn't in the right spot, it'll either give you surface cracking if it's too high, or if it's too far down, you'll start getting other types of cracking. So what a bar chair does is hold the mesh in a particular spot in the top third of the slab to try eliminate, not so much eliminate, remove the risk of cracking.
Interesting. So for those people that are interested in using Cupolex, it is an engineered product. So what's the process to go down if a client is looking to go sort of down that passive house design path and would like to use Cupolex?
So Basically, any structural engineer can design Cupolex. Cupolex is designed under Section 4 of AS 2870, which is our residential slabs, using engineering principles. Again, using a method called the Mitchell method. So it can be compliant under that standard. So any engineer can do it. Now, we have enough information on our website and we give all that information out for free. We don't charge. We've got support for engineers. But someone, say, here in Launceston, or even anywhere in Tasmania, in that fact, I've put on EnviroSlab as our reseller, and the main reason for that is I'm not interested in the big hardware chains or things like that. I'm interested in selling solutions. The people at EnviroSlab have been using or have dealings with our products for about the last 8 years. They understand it. And so I know that every slab that goes out, it'll go out properly designed, properly installed, and that flow through helps us, because like any product, if you ever have a failure, that's your business is gone. So to me, it's more important that people know what they're doing rather than just selling off the shelf and making a few dollars. You know what I mean? So
also, what's really cool, what you guys supply is the AutoCAD template for the design. So any engineer can use that, and also how it works out quantities, and it's a brilliant little setup, you know, and any engineer can use that. And it makes it easier for the draftspersons to do all that as well.
Correct. So we have a auto infill. So once you draw your raft slab, say, you just click inside those squares or rectangles and automatically infill. Then you can hit estimate at the end. It'll give you the quantities of your domes. It'll give you an estimated concrete consumption. It'll also give you your square metres to schedule your mesh. It'll give you lineal metres of beam to schedule your bar. So it basically becomes scheduled for you. So that's another saving you can't put on a spreadsheet when you go to a builder. But I've got people at home that do quite a few slabs a week, and it's a huge saving for them.
And sometimes it's just a matter of giving something new a go. Like, as you said, like some builders are using waffle pods because that's all they've used for, you know, the last 20 odd years. But sometimes it's until they try something new that they realise something else could actually work in their favour or be more efficient.
Which is interesting, because I was in the era when waffles came in. We were going from rafts to waffles, and we had the same resistance. You know, this newfangled way of doing it, you know, preparing a flat site, putting polystyrene on top. Well, you know, these guys were digging these massive trenches, you know, these raft slabs. And that it's all changed. It took them about 3 goes of doing a waffle, and then they got the confidence in it, and they thought, couldn't go back. And we've had the similar experiences with the Cupolex too. Once a few guys do it, they don't want to go back.
Yeah, so there's something like, as I said, I've been doing this for a while now, and I hear things like that, and even the trade show we did on the weekend, we put, new product. To me, I've been doing it for 13 years, so it's not new to me. It's been going, it started in Italy in 1995. So Valerio Pontarolo, he had the vision then for recycling, sustainability and things like that. And so that went from Italy. It's been laid in probably 6 continents now. At a guess, over 40,000 projects have been done. That's an estimation, but I can know what we've done, and we're one of the smaller guys internationally, you know what I mean? But some of the applications, like the road applications, you know, they build airports, they build railway stations, they do all sorts of things. Like, it's just amazing. So when it's a new system, I totally understand that. I totally get it, because every new customer, it's new to them, obviously. So, you know, even though you've been doing it so long, you've still got to treat it like it's new for them, you know, if that makes any sense.
No, 100%.
Yeah, so,
you know, and I understand from the risk point of view, for, you know, concreters, builders have never done anything before, because it's their livelihood. They could lose money if it goes wrong or don't do it right. And I think that goes for any new product. Is a few horror stories where it wasn't done right, or they've never read the installation manual properly. And I've seen it with other products where they haven't had the right advice, whereas I know you have, and I know the guys from ViroSlab, they'll go to site and show you how to install it. You know, get you going, look at the tips and tricks and techniques on how to do it. And you're not going to get that with a hardware store.
Yeah, 100%. So that's why the model I've adapted in Tasmania, I'm very, very comfortable with. Purely that I know I can leave it and I know things will get done properly, which is great, you know. So you come back to putting it down properly and being comfortable. Because we're not under Section 3 of the standard, there's only certain things that the code lets us do to be compliant. But in actual fact, 20% of concrete that goes into all Cupolex slab is not accounted for structurally. So we're up to 70% more conservative than what the code's calling for. And, you know, I don't have a big problem with that because I know nothing's going to fail. No matter how bad, if there's bad workmanship.
Still only as good as the site prep, good geotech, good information, and that goes for any construction of any building anywhere.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's been a journey, and it's one that I've thoroughly enjoyed. I keep telling people I've got the best job in the world because I can just travel and go wherever I want when I want.
One of the other cool things is like the thermal efficiency as well, in the sense of, polystyrene is going to be better. There's just no way about that because of what the product is, but it has its downfalls. But Cupolex spent the money on getting it tested. The thermal assessors, your energy guys that assess your house, it's actually built into the software now, so they can assess it correctly. And that was a problem many years ago where we didn't have that data, whereas now we have that, and I know a few other products are struggling with that. It's like everything, you've got to invest in thermal efficiency of everything we do now is really important in how we design our houses. And now with the National Construction Code switching over to 7-star in certain states, they're going to be looking a lot more closely at that, you know, with the slabs, how we do other treatments, but as the building as a whole. People don't see the performance of it, but it has been calculated.
Yeah, so how that all come about was for many years, there's not a testing facility in Australasia big enough for the reflective foil, the air gap of the dome and a concrete encased, just even a dome area to get a proper thermal report. So then what you try to do is you get the reflective foil, that'll be one test. You get the air void, which it's now accepted after 2018. Nathis and that has accepted an air void under a slab, which has taken many, many years, but it's there now. And then your concrete mass. It'd be great if there was an accepted testing facility where you could encase all that and do this properly. So with software programs, you know, your Accurites and Burrs and all that, we've got guidelines that were done by SmartRate to help energy assessors put that information into their calculators and things like that. But our business in New Zealand is working with brands over there, and they've just about finished their calculator, which will be brands recognised, which is big for us because a lot of our standards are the same, right? We'll just need to tweak it a bit here once that's done. But that's a big, big thing for us because, as I said, there's not a testing facility that we can use to do this.
What else can you tell us about Cupolex for people that want to use it for any kind of home? Are there any limitations as to the sites you can use it on, or can you use it on any type of block?
So basically, let's talk residential to start with. If it's a slab on ground, we can do any site classification. That's not a problem. But the other cool thing about Cupolex is, you know, we do a lot of, as I said, school buildings, industrial buildings, or things like that. But in Europe, they use it for roads, they use it for weirs, they use it for all sorts of things. So the other thing we do here is just little things like you can only do this with our system is if you've got a pitched roof, we can take the hot air out of that roof cavity, blow it under your slab, condition both under your slab and your roof cavity to help regulate your room temperatures. Things like that, you just, when you go down that side of things, apart from being a sustainable product, there's solutions there. And the beauty about this job is that I'm looking for the next solution, and whenever I go somewhere, I try find an answer, and that's what keeps me going in all this because that's what I like doing. But so we use it in anything. People have bought it for rabbit hutches and things like that. They'll put dirt and grass over and let their rabbits run underground through it and all this sort of...
Oh, wow. I've never heard of that before.
I made a beer bucket out of one.
Well, the other thing is, also pizza ovens. Apparently the 350s are a great cast for a pizza oven,
There you go for your new place, Frank.
Mate, they keep coming. No matter who you
cool.
talk to, they keep coming. The other thing is, like, especially in country areas, people have got the old sandstone fireplaces and they have to rip up their floors because of moisture or whatever. They'll then duct heat through and then filter before it comes into the house. Just, all different ways to use that void system. If you're working on a rock site, and you need to excavate to get your plumbing down, well, you can build the Cupolex around that, as a void former for your slab. That'll save you big money. Like, there's always a way.
Yeah. And a bit of creativity in your thinking and how to use it.
Oh, yeah. So there's things that the polystyrene, is good for, and it's bad for, and the same with any product. I'm not saying that ours is perfect either, but, there's always solutions. Like, little things people don't realise. I had a customer in Mudgee, west of Sydney, there about 3 hours, and polystyrene blew into a paddock. A cow went and ate it, died. Right, when they did the autopsy on the cow, they found the polystyrene, cost the concrete $800. Cupolex becomes an insurance because I know in some areas it can be up to $12,000 fine for contamination. Yeah. Right, so if something blows over the fence. So again, that's something you can't put on a spreadsheet, but if you've got a product like ours, then you don't have that cost anymore, or potential cost.
And the offcuts are minimal as well.
Yeah.
Because you can adjust it, with the extendable portions.
The beat-on stops.
The beat-on stops. So virtually all your cutting is around putting pipe penetrations in.
Correct. So that little 110 mil plate that you take out with a hole saw goes straight in the recycle bin.
Just gets recycled again. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right. Any other take-homes for anyone else that wants to use Cupolex? What are the points that you want to push for anyone that wants to use Cupolex for any of their projects, whether it be residential, commercial, sheds or rabbit hutches? What do you recommend?
So basically what I'd say is that because it's recycled, the old stigma has been it'll cost more. It doesn't. That's all I'll say.
Okay. We might wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much for coming in today, Tony. You've come from the Big Island, so we do appreciate your travel to come all the way down here to Tassie. And once again, thank you, Frank, the building designer extraordinaire.
Stop that. Thanks, Amelia.
No worries.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No problems at all, Tony. Until then, we'll see you all again next time.
You're listening to the Building Design Prime Time podcast.